My parents are both Hmong American refugees brought to America when they were around the age of 5 during the mid 1970s. They were both born in a small country located near Vietnam and Thailand called Laos, in the city of Long Cheng. Near the mountains past the city, my mother lived in a wooden hut on the plains of Long Cheng. My mother's family were farmers. They grew rice, papaya fruits, and raised pigs, while my father lived in the crowded poor city away from the farms of Long Cheng. My parents and their families had to flee their homes in Laos after the United States lost the secret war against Vietnam. Because both my grandfathers were soldiers who helped the United States fight against the Vietnamese armies, they were one of the number one targets for the Vietnamese soldiers. As they were fleeing the refugee camps, each child in both families were told only to bring the clothes that they wore and the shoes on their feet. They left behind their homes and everything along inside, with plants and animals. If they took material items, then it would slow them down because each child was very young and they were not strong enough to carry anything. They had to leave behind
The Mekong
everything they
River is known
owned
for
and
its
found
heavy,
their way
strong
to the
rapids.
Mekong
It is the
River.
seventh largest river in Asia and one of the most important trade routes between Asian countries. The best way to get across the Mekong River was to float, swim, or beg the local Laotians to allow you to bring them across the river on their boats. But the crossing of the Mekong had to happen during the nightfall so that the Vietnamese soldiers could not see them. My mother's family was very fortunate that my grandparents could speak Laotian. My grandparents managed to get the whole family on the boats. My father's family wasn't very wealthy, but they bribed the men with the boats money to repay them. My parents were both very lucky and got to ride the boats across the Mekong River. Other families had to swim, float in hopes of not drowning by the current of the river. Some people were not as lucky and were shot in the water by the soldiers. My family made their way to the refugee camp in Laos, where they spent a few months. After their first refugee camp, they made their way to Thailand, where they spent a year in a refugee camp before coming to America. The refugee camps were found far away from the Mekong River and deep into the jungles of Laos. The huts built only to have 3 walls and a roof to support hundreds of Hmong refugees. Both of my parents were way too young to fully understand why they left everything that they had. All they knew was that it wasn't safe for them. Many people were lost or killed during the fleeing to the refugee camps. My family was very lucky that they had everyone. The countries that were accepting Hmong refugees were France, Australia, Canada, and the United States. Soldiers who fought alongside the United States during the Vietnam War got to choose first where they wanted to start their new life. My mother's family chose to settle in Rapid City, South Dakota, and my father's family chose to settle in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. Before landing in Rapid City, my mother's family first landed in Guam, where each child in her family was gifted with a sweatshirt and provided a new outfit by church sponsors. After they changed into their new clothes, they all took their first family photo welcoming to America. They then ventured to Seattle and finally the land of giants, Rapid City. Rapid City was known for Mount Rushmore. My grandparents had told my mom and her siblings that they were going to live in the land of giants. My mom and her siblings were super scared. The sweatshirt that my mom had gotten in Guam came in handy because of how cold it got in the Midwest. Both of my parents struggled with racism and language barriers. Because no one knew about the Hmong people and their contribution to the Vietnam War, they were not treated the best. There was a huge culture shock when they came to America. Unlike America, in Laos, only those who could afford an education went to school. In America, we have public school, which is free, which allows everybody to have a free primary and secondary education. In Laos, where my parents grew up, there was no technology. The only type of technology were cars and motorcycles. Only the wealthy people of Laos got things like cameras, radios, and computers. But even so, technology was not as advanced as it was in America during the 1970s. My parents knew some of the basic English skills like hello or good morning. They often only spoke to their siblings when it came to school. Because my parents weren't born in America, they were oftentimes bullied because of their English and how different they looked. That led to my parents not being able to make friends easily. Although I didn't go through the journey from Laos to America, I feel like the story is important to who the Hmong people are and will always hold history. This story motivates me to do better because my parents had never had the opportunity to be born with such privilege. My parents came from nothing, but somehow gave me everything.